I do want to spend a moment to talk about this OpenAI Ghibli situation.
Oh, yeah. You don't like art?
OpenAI, big US AI company, formerly nonprofit, now very profit driven, has released a update to their image generation and started promoting using ChatGPT to turn an image into the style of Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki's production company.
They were like, you know what could be really fun? You know how the main thing a lot of people seem to hate about what we do is the appropriation of art and work.
Right, because that was like already, there's databases of the copyrighted creative works that have been stolen to train these AI models. Like, we are constantly talking about generative AI and how it's kind of like blatant theft and then kind of regurgitating for profit someone else's creative work.
In the same respect that, like, albeit the stakes are different, that like the medical industry in the US is extremely exploitative, but medicine isn't the bad thing.
The utility of it is
like
what's...
the technology behind generative AI is not the culp. There's like a lot of like valid applications, but the problem is that this company, which originally had this nonprofit mission, was posed with like billions and billions of dollars. I think what happened was that they got like a $10 billion infusion from Microsoft. So like it starts to feel like there's now this profit motive. With that, is it feels a little bit like a race to the bottom. ChatGPT's like new thing, generating Studio Ghibli based images, which in order to generate them has to mean that they have trained on the resources of Studio Ghibli, which is the problem. Because I don't understand if they even had permission. I can't imagine a world where they had permission from Studio Ghibli to
I don't even know how
to
they
train
would get it.
And I do think that one of the limitations, as I understand, again, I've been out of the tech space for a long time, but so I could be wrong here, but one of my understanding about generative AI in specific is that one of the largest limitations is having a large corpus of data. And I guess as these companies were bootstrapping, like needing to scrape tons and tons and tons of things off of the open internet, and inadvertently that results in tons of copyrighted content being generated, like for example YouTube videos and stuff. Like people like Marquez Brownlee have talked about this. All of this preamble to say that like they know what they're doing and they're like kind of trudging forward in this like, well, it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission mode, which is just like what a lot of tech companies do, like, you know, Uber and its rise to
break stuff,
dominance, move fast and break things,
break people, break their careers, break their options.
So I'm like, the first thing I said was like, they got permission to do. It feels so brazen. It feels like the type of thing that a fan would create, and then it would immediately get like a takedown request. I couldn't believe that this gigantic company was doing it.
This is like a Oblivion mod or something, or Skyrim mod, and then of course Bethesda ended up taking it down, but it was fun while it was around.
It's like crazy that the company is doing it.
And fucking Sam Altman made his profile pic like Ghibliified, and it's just like,
he's so cool.
And he's like uwu tweeting about like, guys, you guys are so, oh my god, you're melting our servers.
It's super fun seeing people love images in chat. I'm a human being, by the way.
Yeah.
It's super fun seeing people love images in ChatGPT, but our GPUs are melting. We are going to temporarily introduce some rate limits, okay? Tapping index fingers together while we work on making it more efficient. Hopefully won't be long. ChatGPT free tier will get 3 generations per day soon. 69,000, and that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
likes.
And it's like, I get, like, I think there's a lot of really
2,800
dumb takes about this. No one cares about how it's made. They just care about consuming, and the thing that's fun to consume will be what's consumed. Yes, of course, because path of least resistance, people are just going to seek convenience and novelty and points of interest in that way.
And this isn't like really an ethical conversation if you're not online and involved in it. Why would you think about that?
Right.
Like, oh,
but the thing is, that doesn't mean that it's above criticism, because our it's like saying yeah, babies want to eat candy more than they want to eat vegetables, you dumb donkey.
Why would we feed them the thing they don't want?
Obviously they just want to eat whatever, like the thing that's most attractive to them.
And you're going to tell the kid what to do?
And you're going to, yeah, like that. And so this is kind of crazy to me. And there's also ongoing lawsuits, I believe.
There was a lawsuit from the New York Times against OpenAI for training ChatGPT on the New York Times articles. That's ongoing.
Like, I can't even read the fucking New York Times articles without a goddamn paywall.
They keep taking shots at the big boys. Like, maybe I'm glad that they're not. Oh, well, they are, but the damage would be worse in the case of independent artists who can't defend themselves or who are literally having their work taken. Feels like you got a little too comfortable, and now you're like, I'm gonna take a swing at just all of Saudi Arabia. I'm gonna steal all their art.
It kind of feels very like, give me Greenland. I want it. Give it to me and we'll get it no matter what.
No.
Because we're powerful.
Gulf of America, okay.
Because like the money in OpenAI is more money than, Studio Ghibli's ever been worth. Sure. So we can fight them.
Yeah, if they get hit with a lawsuit, like worst case scenario, they have to like pay several $1 million in a lawsuit to someone. They're making so much more than that
it's
right
like
now.
when Uber was moving into markets without getting government approval and then just paying fines.
Yeah.
For because less it was cheaper.
Doesn't Disney own the licensing rights to Ghibli in America? And
I suppose
Disney is traditionally quite litigious.
But that's the thing. It's like this company has so much power behind it. OpenAI has got like a market cap of like, or an estimated market cap of like $300 billion, which would make it one of the like largest companies in the world. And could you just Google Disney's market cap? I think it's a lot less than that.
Their partnership ended is what I'm reading.
Disney market cap.
But they were so good together.
Yeah, it's like worth no, Disney's a public company, but this thing always happens where it's like Tesla's market cap and the way that it's priced into the market means it's worth more than like every other automaker. Like combined, not exactly that, but like something close to that and on the same order.
It's like the revenue tier or valuation of Europe.
And so it's this thing where it's like there's all this speculation kind of baked into this. Valuation at the last raise for OpenAI is double Disney's current market cap.
With any kind of primarily online discourse, it's easy to lose track of the fact that normies, and that's non-pejorative, being a normie is good. I wish I could get there. Literally don't know what any of these words mean. Like OpenAI, like what is that? Because why would they have to?
Well, that's
if they
the
know
thing.
AI, it's like, oh yeah, I saw like a video. It was interesting.
I think that like the annoying thing is that it feels very like easy to dunk on someone who has conviction or cares about an issue. But the alternative is just to lie down and let these like giant corporate actors like control your entire life.
Like, well, like they're so big, I guess they're right.
Also, you have to recognize that like most people do not have the capacity to give a shit because they are trying to make ends meet or they are trying to focus on their job and their family and just keeping like it's hard enough to live.
Yeah.
So it's a privilege to care about things like this, but we are in a privileged position to say that like this shit is whack as hell.
I think one of the few things where there can be grassroots impact in theory is in defense of smaller artists and creatives specifically, because that is a very like punchy line. If you're pushing back on something like this because you're like, well, you're stealing work from something, that's a very tangible criticism, as opposed to like the more broad criticism of how bad monopolies can be and how this could disenfranchise people in the long term. I don't want to say that there is no value in pushing back against this and its application.
Well, no. I just think that like, it's funny. I wouldn't even describe myself as anti-AI because I think there's a lot of nuance to artificial intelligence that has kind of been co-opted to like just mean a couple of things where AI has been a part of our lives for decades and will continue to be a part of our lives for the foreseeable future. It's like I'm not anti-water, but I don't want clean water to go to certain people and dirty water to go to other people.
I want Flint's water to be good. It's not that it's like water is...
And so we are in this Wild West. The commissioner, right, of the FTC, is now out, and they were a person who was suing a lot of these big companies and fighting against like mergers and corporate consolidation and also anti-consumerist practices and monopolies. That type of stuff is like not going to be happening in this administration.
Yeah,
Just
that
like,
pushback is
and so even if we
Even
had,
less welcome.
even if we had that, this would still be fighting an uphill battle because the speed at which legislation happens is much slower than the speed at which technology typically develops, and AI has developed at such a dramatically fast clip. Like I had a minor basically in artificial intelligence. Like a specialization in my degree was in computer networking and artificial intelligence. Those are like my threads or my specializations. And I took like graduate classes in machine learning and things like that. And where the world was 10 years ago is like very, very different. Like we were not thinking about, we were using AI to like, you know, like some of the applications could be like solving a maze, you know, like identifying a face, you know, like some of these basic things. Like I had a project when I was in college in my computer vision class to like look at the 2012 presidential debate and like be able to face track Mitt Romney and Obama and things like that.
It's such an exciting pitch always, and still is. Like it's such a remarkable technology.
It is.
It's very difficult to make the argument that the technology itself is not valuable, and it's very difficult for people that don't care to make the argument as to like the ethical implications.
Yeah, I just think that ethicists exist in the technology space, and I don't think they're as prominent as they should be, but I do think it's like very, very important. It's also why I think anyone studying anything technical should also study soft sciences, soft skills,
communication,
like communication, English, like liberal arts and things, because we can get in this very calculated view of the world, like
kind of libertarian
everything,
mindset,
or just like utilitarian, even like just saying like, how do you qualify? Is this net good versus opposite?
Ayn Rand core. It is like, well, he had to make the best building.
Yeah,
that's the point.
All that's to say that like I'm actually probably pro AI with a bunch of like asterisks, right? But the thing is, if I were to say that, what that means to someone isn't what it means to me.
Sure.
Because of what the like sort of average understanding of what AI is. And so that's why we talk about this stuff, to try to add like nuance to like what is currently happening. And I think that a thing that we can all agree with is just carte blanche stealing from creatives or anyone is bad. and then using that to effectively repackage and systematize it for profit is bad.
And that's what's a little extra slimy about this too, is that it's because you're right that legislature will always struggle to catch up really to anything, because legislature has to follow, even in the current administration, should have to follow the same like stringent testing and system that a new medication would. There has to be a study, double-blind, placebo, everything should be reviewed. But diseases are always going to evolve faster than the medicine can.
It's why Brian Johnson is like, a lot of scientists laugh at him because he's not like, there's nothing sort of scientific to his methods. Normally there is lots of checks and balances to make sure that horrible things don't occur. I just watched a documentary called Bad Surgeon, where I think it was called Bad Surgeon. It was about this surgeon that had all this praise maybe 10, 15 years ago for inventing man-made tubes that could go into your throat to treat certain throat people who had issues with throat cancers and things of that nature. And it was hailed as this like cool experimental technology that was super promoted in the media. And then it comes to find out that he never tested his stuff on animals. He never tested on anyone. He first tested on humans. And almost all of his patients died. It's a crazy documentary.
That's a bad surgeon.
But leading up to that, the media is part of the problem, because they were the ones making documentaries about how transformative he was. There were filmmakers covering some of the patients up until like finishing the treatment and being able to speak afterward. And then at the movie premiere, the filmmakers follow up with the person, and they've actually died.
That's so... Because it is a way more interesting story than, hey, so we're going to be in testing for something for the next 15 years, but it's pretty exciting, right?
There was one thing that I kept seeing in the Ghibli argument online, and people kept saying stuff like, well, artists influence each other all the time and steal from each other all the time, and pay homage to each other all the time. What's the difference here? And the difference is the humanity's taken out.
The commodification of it.
Like, well, and the commodification of it. But even the fact that when you're an artist and you're creative and you're thinking of what to make, your humanity is in that process, right? You're not just straight
You're paying
up
homage to the person, not the color grade.
Or you're influenced by the
interpreting it
person.
too, and and it's flowing through your own creativity, and instead it's flowing through a deep neural network that's like spitting out millions and millions and millions and millions of iterations of this stuff that just turns it from something that had like a soul to it to a very like cheap copy, quite literally a cheap copy.
There should be a distance between the concept, which has some validity, of like death of the artist and spreading of the art itself in isolation, and the death of all of the artists involved being made by no one for no one. Importantly, no one's going to pay homage to this because it's not doing anything. This does not make something to propagate. Somebody got annoyed at me for this take for some reason at one point. I'm actually not a death of the artist person. I get it in some cases, and I get that it's like people don't like an author, it's kind of nice to distance from it or something like that. If I watch a movie, if I watch any production of any kind, it is not interesting to me unless I know who made it, because it is their expression. It's like, I'm reading somebody's diary. Who?
But
it doesn't
even
matter
if you
then.
don't know anything about who created it, a series of decisions were made in the creation of anything creative. You have to constantly make a series of decisions.
And they hurt, and they're hard, and they're weird, and there's tears.
And those decisions are part of what is affecting you, right? I love watching documentaries about him because he's such a interesting creative mind, and he has such strong opinions. That's the other thing that's crazy, the fact that they chose his work in particular,
and they chose it based not on the substance of it or the message of it, but on the vibes. I like the way it looks. It's like this may as well have been, and I think this probably does exist, Family Guy-ified.
It's
these photos.
the same for sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, Tiananmen Square, but Family Guy version. Like, what are we doing? But also,
what about the Challenger explosion, but Simpsons?
It's interesting because like that in isolation, all of this, if you take out who is harmed, it is just everyone having fun online. And when someone can only see things an inch deep, that is why it seems like everyone else is like whining about something that doesn't matter. What do you guys care? We're just having fun.
I just want my profile pic to be cute.
I just thought it was cute.
On a surface level, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
It is fun to post, like that period of time where
you could do like a South Park version of yourself, or because those
Matt and Trey aren't losing money because you did that.
Yeah.
The problem is that we have now reached the point where every single post like this, every single conversation like this, every single dialogue online is going to be absolutely flooded with people genuinely advocating for we should have this instead of animators. It is happening.
I don't know how many of these people are real, but the people who are like Hollywood is in trouble.
Okay, so you actually literally do want to get rid of the others.
Because
There's
there are people like that, these like very accelerationists, like AI accelerationists. Those people are like cringe as fuck.
They're ghoulish.
For Sam Altman, it is about money. But for an artist, it's more about artist integrity, like what your work
It's frustrating
symbolizes.
that they're forcing us and anyone that has these conversations to try and rephrase everything we're saying for the hyper-pragmatist. Yeah. If you are a utilitarian, true psycho-utilitarian, then I don't want to have the conversation because you're not interested. We're trading in a different currency. It's kind of like kind of the classic Reddit atheist versus devout Christian argument, where really the wisest move is to just not, or the ideal move is that the two of you just don't have to have this conversation because you're trading in different resources. This person is saying, well, my faith is the thing that's important to me. You're going like, but here are my facts. And like, but they don't care about the facts and you don't care about the faith. You're trying to trade an incompatible resource. You're trying to give me money, I'm trying to give you oxen.
Right.
It is, to them, inconceivable that the revenue wouldn't be the reason you make it.
Right.
And then
Oh, dude.
we create this world, let's say, somehow where the entire production process from beginning to end, the next award-winning independent animation is only made by AI. These people don't watch it. They don't watch art. They don't care about it.